want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
We are the Madmen of Masculinity.
Your home for healthy masculinity. We're just real men having real conversations for you.
Oh, yeah. Good morning, boys and girls. Good night, boys and girls. Good evening, boys and girls. I am Kirk M. Samuels. Also on the screen, or if you're listening, you will hear the voice not of Jason B. Kendrick, but of the one and only Brett Zachman. And we tonight together here are the Madmen of Masculinity. We are just real men having real conversations for you. That's the first time I've ever had to do the whole intro by myself. Our man Jason B. Kendrick is on the road right now. If he has signal, he's probably watching us live because he would be a chump if he didn't. And so, yeah, man, I'm sure he'll tell us about the trip some other time, man. But meantime, in between time, I'm hitting share on my phone because all month long we're giving free likes and free shares. And I was at a restaurant the other night, and some guy I know, he's like on the Parker Town Council. Him and his wife happened to sit next to me, and they started talking about stuff we talk about on the radio. I'm like, man, how come you ain't never comment or share nothing? I mean, folks be listening, but folks don't be loving. We need some loving to go with your listening. You know, hit a like. It don't cost nothing. Hit a subscribe. It don't cost nothing. We are not going to blow you up with all kinds of junk. Hit all that kind of stuff, man. And but let's get into it, man. My man Brett Zachman. I rarely call you Brett. Why do people call you Zach?
Yeah, it's a cute nickname story. You know, growing up, I started playing some sports, started playing some football. Somehow, some way, became the quarterback of the football team. So, Zachman, very German surname. Yeah, nobody ever pronounced that right. I was always called Zachman. And so, if you've ever hung around jocks, yeah, two syllables is one too many. So, it just became Zach. So
nice. That's totally a guy thing, man. So anyhow. So yeah, if you know him, if you call him Brett, he'll turn around. But if you call him Zach, he'll turn around too. And if you call him Zach, you know he'll know. It'll be clear that you're in the end. That you're not calling him by his government name.
There you go.
You know what I'm saying? Because everybody in the hood got a government name, and then we got like a regular name that everybody else calls us.
If you know, you know.
If you know, you know, man. And so thanks for filling in, man. I appreciate it. You know, you and I, man, we've been friends for a while now here. I would consider you absolutely personally one of my inner circle, closest guys in my life, man. If you weren't in my life, it wouldn't be the same. The quality of my life would go down. That's how much you mean to me just in our circle of stuff. We got stuff that we working on for the summer that we got coming up, and we got just all kinds of things, man. And at some point in your life, like men, masculinity, the male journey, all that kind of stuff became important to you, and that led you to like some things. That led you to get kind of on a personal level involved with some things. So how did like the male journey become important to you?
Yeah, it's a great question. I put it in a book, and I actually called it The Breaking. So for guys out there, and I know we're speaking mostly to men, but women too, I find it fascinating how much women in America want to know more about men. But the breaking for me was going through separation and divorce. And so here's a guy who grew up wanting to be a jock, who got an econ degree in college, right? And so I haven't studied any of that. Personal growth, self-development, that's an alternate universe for me in my early 30s. I come to find out I do 3 of the top 5 most stressful things simultaneously. I do not recommend this. This is not, what you want to be doing. I was just walking into the perfect storm, forgot to go to Walmart, buy an umbrella, a rain jacket or anything like that. I moved out of my home, right? We changed the nature of our 10-year marriage, so we became separated, and I launched my own company all at the same time. Well, that was a recipe in basically, let's see if Zach loses his ever-loving mind. And thankfully I didn't, but it caused me to have a panic attack about a year later. Now, I didn't know what a panic attack was. I thought I was having a heart attack at the age of 34 as I was driving down the road. I described it then as like it felt like the hand of death reached up under my ribcage, grabbed my heart. Because everything, as an athlete, I'm so used to understanding my body all the time. And suddenly my reflexes felt like molasses in January. I was crying uncontrollably. I could barely see the road. I pulled off to the side of the road. I'm like, what? And like my heart was palpitating. I was like, what is going on? And yeah, came to find out later, I had a panic attack at the age of 34. First one ever.
Wow. And then, and so, I mean, what did that mean for your life? I mean, what did that mean for,
Right.
well, but I say that, but also where that leads to is how you have gotten to the point where now you impact and you have a passion and a stake in other men's lives.
Yeah, and it was, guys, I wish I could tell you because, right, we're in this instant gratification. Don't do it today. Have it done yesterday. How do I do this even faster? No, it was slow growth. It was slogging through it. And initially it was, who do I dial on the phone? And I went down my list. Can't call my buddies. I'll look like a wimp. Can't call my former spouse. That's ridiculous. Don't want to call my parents. I finally got to my sister, called her. I ended up going to a buddy's house that night, slept in his basement, and he told me about a divorce group called Rebuilding out of Boulder. It's like a group therapy session. It's 10 weeks, 3 hours at a time. And, me up to that point, I'm like, nah, I don't need that, right? Think about it, guys. The machismo, I call it the old yeller, right? Like we go through something damaging, and the joke that's not a joke is, what does old yeller do? Well, he slinks off into the woods and he curls up under a tree, and one or two things either happens. He dies, or magically he revives himself and comes back to his master, and everybody, it's magically deliciously better at the end. And so I just reversed everything. I stopped the machismo route. I stopped the isolation route. I started talking to people. I went to this divorce group seminar for 10 weeks. I got asked to come back as a volunteer to help with the next course. So I ended up doing 20 weeks. I did personal counseling for a year. I took my sons and I to family counseling. Anything I could get my hands on, Kirk, like books, DVDs, workshops, and it was like a totally new universe. And guys, if you can relate to this, like I did the stereotype. I was like, look, she's crazy. I'm good. Well, guess what? Crazy doesn't come into your life if there's not something a little bit off with you. So I jokingly call that the boomerang with the brick attached, where I threw that boomerang out. Hey, I got to learn why she behaved all this way and that way. And then it came back full circle 18 months later. I found out so many things I didn't know about myself. Like my whole existence, my whole identity opened up to me. And then I thought, well, what happens to those other guys? That was the other thing. Okay, well, as you can tell if you're watching this, I happen to be white. I happen to grow up, middle-income suburbia. I had good parents. I had good pastors. I had good coaches. I had good teachers. I got a great education, yada, yada, yada. And then I was thinking, yeah, but all guys don't have that. And if this took me to my knees, what happens to those other guys? Mm-hmm. And man, you start peeling the onion on the statistics, and it's, as you know, it's not pretty for men in America right now.
Yeah. And you decided to do what?
Honestly,
yeah.
My oldest son, he's an introvert, and he would say it succinctly like this: yeah, my dad, he never shuts up. Mm-hmm. So I started talking. Mm-hmm. I was going to coffee chats with guys and gals that I knew. I was asking questions. I'm like telling them my story. I'm like, hey, I'm like, did you go through this? I'm feeling that. And first it was like my 7 closest buddies. And what happened was I went through divorce and watched 7 of my closest male friends do it too, all within 2.5 years. We went down like dominoes. And I was like, wait, what's in the water? Like, what is going on here? And so I had to go to Dr. Google, right? I think I'm just going to look at it. I'll just go find a guy thing, right? There's got to be a guy thing. No, there was bitterness and anger and frustration, and here's how to decimate your former spouse and family court law. I'm like, oof, I don't want any part of all that. And so it kind of seemed like we were going to build just maybe like a divorce men's support group, because I kept talking. And then it gestated and evolved, and it was like, no, nobody wants to sign up for that club because divorce still has a negative stigmatism in America, right? I did that once, so I was a part of that club for like 2 months or 2 years, but no longer. And so it's evolved over time now, where Be Men is a men's organization about the hero, the gentleman, the hero, and the warrior inside of each of us.
Boom. Be Men. Be Men has done a whole lot of good things for a whole lot of people, man. And of course, like a lot of things, COVID kind of shut down a lot of the face-to-face get-togethers and that. And so I'm going to say we because at this point I'm attached with an umbilical cord to be men, and so how do we get down when we like circle up? Like what in what format, what medium do we connect on?
Yeah, it's a great question. So over time, we kind of developed, okay, we've got kind of three layers to this, right? We've got a public-facing website that anybody can see. Then we've got an open group community on Facebook. And that started men only. And then interestingly enough, we've actually invited women into that layer of being men, which is a head scratcher. Like, well, what are you talking about, Willis? You know, you're building a men's group and you're inviting some women to check. And what I learned was I was giving a presentation at the state of Colorado like 10 years ago. And a gal walked straight up to me. Turned out she was an executive director of a women's shelter. She said, great idea, Zach. Don't make it a secret. I'm like, what you talking about? She said, and she's described it more. And I was like, oh, you mean like Mason? I'm like, well, tell me why. She said, look, I'm the executive director. My whole staff is female. All my volunteers are female. If you got a bunch of men meeting and it's a secret meeting behind closed doors and nobody has any insight about what's going on, we're not going to assume that you're doing wonderful things for the world. I was like, crap. Well, we just lost half the population. Mm-hmm. And as you and I know, how many men get introduced to something like this by a woman? So I'm like, I can't have that. I can't have half the population checking out. So we've invited them to window shop so they can be a part of the group. They just can't come all the way into, you know, the inner sphere. Yeah. So then the next layer is we will create experiential events. So we have a continuity event where we call it Beers, Bros, and Bucks. So think happy hour with a purpose. And we'll bring guys together in a safe container because guys need a place to just hang out, right? And just get raw and real.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I love that, man. I love the way, like I said, we used to actually meet, you know, in restaurants, that kind of thing, and now we do a hybrid kind of in person as well as Zoom. And man, it's a good time to sit down and chat and talk it up and stuff. And so, man, so we're not. I mean, what we're going to get into is what do men need, and all of that was basically just establishing who you are. You've been on here before, but I just want to establish the fact that you have something invested in men. And so today we're going to get into what do men need. Like today, I mean, that's a big, broad question, and we're not going to preach. You know, we're not going to talk down to no guys. We just don't get down like that. And you know, and so we want to encourage men, but then we also want to maybe even give some insight to women. So we're going to talk about today, what do men need in these here modern times in our lives, man? And so we're going to get down like that, man. And like I said, Zach, man, well, you already know I love you. And so I'm looking forward to this conversation, man. So with that, we're going to take a break and get some of our sponsors in here and let them show some support. And until then, we'll be right back. Boom. Good stuffings. Boom, Baba. Yeah, I was basically like, man, let me establish some, you know, who we are, and all that kind of junk, man. And
I appreciate that, man.
Then we'll get in this bad boy. So what do you think, man? You would just want to wing this thing or what, man? I mean, I'm down for it.
Yeah, I'm good. I mean, I've got my list.
Hey, if you're watching us online, if you go to the Mad Men of Masculinity page on Facebook and or YouTube, if you type in a comment, we'll see it live here. I'll put you up on the screen and I'll make you famous if I don't mess it up. Jason's normally the one that does that. But if you agree or disagree or you got some input or something you think or something like that, you want to chime in on the show, go ahead and throw a comment up on the screen. We'll see. But you got to go to the Mad Men page. We're sharing this on several different pages. And so you can't be on Zach's page, which I shared it to. You can't be on mine. You can't be on Jason's. You got to go to the Mad Men page in order for us to see the comments. We'll see everything afterwards. You know, we'll see all that once we're done here. But in terms of while we're talking on the screen here, throw a comment up on the Mad Men page and we'll see it here. So I'm looking forward to this, man. I'm looking forward to it.
Yes, sir. Mm-hmm.
I'm freaking.
Gotcha.
I told you I got a big mouth, man.
How's that? Is that better?
And I'm a little bit back from mine. That's the other thing.
Yeah, I mean, well, you know,
I got a big mouth, dude.
I talk a lot, but Kirk's got, yeah.
You know, nobody listens to what I got to say, so I got to talk loud.
Voice made for radio.
You see, people listen to you, so you don't have to talk loud. Nobody listens to me, so I got to talk loud.
Am I the EF Hutton?
You are, man.
Today myself.
You are. Sure enough, man. Right on. Here we go. And we're back. We are back. I am Kirk M. Samuels. I'm here with my man, Brett Zachman. And go back and listen to the first segment if you have no idea why I just gave him 37 names. But it is what it is. Man, JCB Kendrick is out on the road. He's literally driving. He's probably somewhere on 70 in Utah or somewhere. He's probably in state by now. But anyhow, so Zach, man, thanks for filling in. And we're going to get down into some maybe some deep dive, if nothing else, some medium dive conversation about what men need today. And like I said, we ain't preaching to nobody, man. We don't have it all figured out. We still trying to work on it ourselves, man. But I will say though that we care. And like I said, if you agree or disagree, let us know. One of the first things I can think of off the top of my head that men need is friends, other men in our lives, man. My life has never been better since I've gotten other men in my closest kind of like circle, inner circle. Men I can lean on at 10 o'clock p.m., at 2 o'clock a.m., and at 4 o'clock, in the afternoon as well, man. What do you think?
Yeah, like one of the first things that I put on here, and we were just talking about it, why do we gather every month with B-Men? I put community versus isolation.
Yeah.
And we talk a lot about this, that it seems today, and we'll have layers of this, but it seems like one thing is synonymous across all these layers, that what you need is counterintuitive to what is kind of being the groundwork that's being laid out, right? Because you watch books or movies or whatever, and it's the whole machismo route. It's lone survivor. But what they don't tell you is that's a great way to like demolish yourself inside out. And it just doesn't work. Isolation looks sweet and cool in movies, and in the real world, it creates psychological dysfunction. And I totally agree with you. I don't have any biological brothers, but the moment that I figured out, hey, this is what I want to do with the second half of my life, and met you all, and we've got the B-Man Council, my life is so much more rich, so much more vibrant, and I can be seen and heard by guys that are like, yeah.
Rambo is fiction, right? I mean, it is. The Navy SEALs don't go into a mission alone. None of them. They never, ever do. And they will tell you that you're stupid to go into a mission or a firefight or just life alone. And so you're right that there's this propped up kind of, the Lone Ranger had Tonto, right? I mean, it just is what it is. But the idea, and I think this is one thing that men don't discover until later in life. I think when we're earlier in life, somehow we think, man, we can figure it out. But in reality, I think the older you get, the more you realize, or you hopefully realize, that, other men are essential, man.
Yeah. Well, and when I was launching B-Man, like I still have more questions than answers, fellas. So it's a lifelong journey, like Kirk was just saying. And one of my thoughts was, well, where in the hell did that stop? Mm-hmm. Because when I started thinking about myself as a kid, think this through, guys. Like, think back in your mind, how did you grow up? The only time from about 6 to 22 that I was alone was when I slept by myself. Other than that, like, you were never alone. You were in school, you were in class, you were in a group, you were in chess club, you were in 4-H, you were in football, basketball, church group, this, that, and the other. You had a girlfriend. And so somewhere, and I don't know, maybe we need to get a sociologist, an anthropologist, some far brighter folks than me on this show to tell us where in like the decade of our 20s, when did it shift? When did guys start being like, okay, islands in a hurricane, Lone Ranger, like you said, I got to prove to myself and everybody else that I got this.
And I don't get that either, man. And like I said, I think it's, there's that desert period in life for a lot of guys in the 20s, maybe even into 30s, and where you think you don't need a guy. And maybe a lot of it has to do with maybe that's when guys start getting married or get into those deep relationships. Even if you have a woman in your life, that's even more reason why you need other men in your life. Because there are things that you can get from a close relationship with men that you can't get from a close relationship with women. And having a tight bond with other men will help you be a better man for her. But it's when we kind of stray away from all that stuff that we end up getting out there on an island, and we lose some of that edge of masculinity, and it that edge of masculinity can easily kind of turn into just kind of more the femininity, more just the things we lose some of that passion, that edge, and that's the stuff that they fall in love with anyway.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you, and I don't know if other guys, maybe even yourself, could relate to this, but the acronym or the joke, not a joke, that I've heard is MIA, right? Now that's a military term.
Mm-hmm.
My adult son is actually in the military, but the paraphrase or the metaphor here is, that guy, he's active, you see him a lot until, and he's hooked up, and then he's in a serious monogamous fiance, wife, live in, whatever. And where's Joe? Well, we haven't seen Joe in 18 months. And I'm guilty of that, right? You get going and you're focused on your career and you're focused on a house and you're focused on a family and you're focused on your primary partner. But what I found out in my marriage was that person cannot be the end all be all for what you need in terms of social interaction. And if you try to go that route, you will probably fracture the marriage.
Probably.
And so to your point, I totally agree that you need those guys and you need the outlet and you need some of those activities. And I hate the crap about hall pass. It's like, no, you need to come equals into a partnership because it's called partnership, and then collaborate and say, look, I've got these group of guys. They're super important to me, and I need to be interacting and encourage the same thing in your partner.
Mm-hmm. Now, we are talking, cut straight to the chase. We are talking about healthy male relationships. We're not talking about the guys that want to take you to the strip clubs and drop it like it's hot up to the champagne room to get your freak on. Or we ain't talking about the guys that want to take you down to whatever neighborhood and so y'all can shoot up behind some house or nothing like that. We're talking about healthy male intimacy. And that's, a lot of times those words don't go hand in hand. But I'm telling you, man, I believe that until a young man can have healthy male intimacy, he's probably not ready for a healthy female intimacy or intimacy with a female because he doesn't have the balance. He doesn't have, there are some things that we go through as men that women can't understand. And there are some things that we need to share with men that if we shared it or when we share it with her, she's not going to get it. And that should be okay. Like, that's not a bad thing. I don't want my wife to be a man. Like, there's some things that sometimes I got to tell her, like, babe, it's a man thing. And she knows that I am better when I go spend time with guys, with my guys. Whether it's a golf course with Jason or whether it's one of the B-men, meetups that we have or just hanging out with you guys or just whatever. She knows that when I come back, I am better. And so she encourages that, and I encourage her to go spend time with her friend.
Yeah, totally. And I'm not sure when or where, again, kind of from a culture standpoint, like when did some of these things become female only?
Yeah.
When did, when I was going through that divorce group seminar, that's where I heard self-love come up. Again, we hear it from time to time. But man, a 34-year-old me was like, oh crap, here we go again. Like, this is the part where they tell me, like, rainbows and zippity doo-dahs if I just love myself more. I didn't buy it at all. At all. But I will tell you guys, like 15 plus years later, if you are not self-caring, if you don't have any self-love, and you don't like yourself, why should a woman love you?
Yeah.
Any woman on the planet. Why should your children respect you or listen to you? Why would your buddies want to hang out with you and see any virtue, integrity, character, trustworthiness? And so it really is like, hey, we're equal parts. We're humans before we're male or female.
Yeah, I think one of the reasons why I believe, men self-cancel at a higher rate, we're more incarcerated than women, we're more, drug addicted than women, et cetera, is because we try to do a lot of life that we shouldn't by ourselves. I mean, and it wasn't really until this industrial age that, we got off of, the tribal kind of mentality, the way we lived in community and all that. And then it goes out, and then you throw in the age of, being the boss guy, the, entrepreneur. I'm going to be the spearhead. I'm going to go do this and that. And, I know several guys who have had passions like you and went, and started up some kind of men's things, initiatives. Yeah. And they do it completely on their own. And they, and it ends up being kind of mono voice and just kind of mono perspective and that kind of stuff. But yeah, I mean, when we get away from, when we get away from fighting things back to back, man, it's just a dangerous place. It's a dangerous. I believe self-canceling is the intersect when you get to the intersection, because I've been at that intersection. When you get to the intersection of hopelessness and isolation, you can be hopeless, but if you got people around you, man, somebody to, I know daggone well you and I mean, we've had some conversations where it's like, dude, I mean, and so we can pick up the phone and, and that diffuses going too far down any kind of road. But when we get too far down that road, man, it's hard to come back, man. It's really hard to come back.
Yeah, absolutely. And this idea of self-care, like one of the things I've been starting to flesh out, this hypothesis that if you look at trauma in our culture, in our community at this time, like 7, 8, 9 times out of 10, the epicenter is ill health in men.
Yes.
Guys, it's us, right? Self-abuse, spousal abuse, child abuse tends to statistically start and stop with us. So, well, who's going to help you become a better you? Well, your partner has a vested interest, but it's different, right? When you're romantically inclined, that vesting, that attachment, the emotions involved, that's a totally different scenario than having your guy buddies, but as you said, quality guy buddies, where you're bringing accountability, not entitlement, where you're bringing encouragement, not blame, shame, guilt.
Right.
Where you're accepted and seen and heard and empathized, where guys go, yeah, me too, brother. I'm struggling with that as well.
And that's a huge part right there, just being able to open up and be honest with, I'm struggling with this, I'm struggling with that, and ups and downs. And it's like, I'm not going to judge you, you ain't going to judge me. And we're safe like that. Of course, it takes a little bit of time to build up that safety. But in any case, man, when we can begin to live like that shoulder to shoulder as men, and do the self-care and do especially part of self-care, doing life together, man, that's half the battle right there, man. That's where we need to get to as men in terms of the community, the connection, walking life together, the self-care, and all those things, man. I hope we didn't take up this whole first segment on mine, man, because you got to get some too.
No.
Let's go to our early break, and then when we come back, man, I'm gonna let you throw something into the mix, throw a log into the fire, man. We'll be right back. Mad Men and Masculinity, KLDC 1220 AM. Boom. Man, that was cool. I mean, I'm telling you, man. I look back over. I mean, I've had dream careers. I've had dream women. I've had, great health. I've had, the physique that I wanted. But, man, it wasn't until guys came into the picture, quality guys that came into the picture of my life, that there was any meaning to any of that stuff, man. Any meaning to any of that.
Well, maybe that's something to talk about after the break, right? I was thinking one of the things I wrote down was purpose versus possession.
Ooh, yes, there it is right there, Bo. I'm about to, because, yeah. All right, here we go.
All right.
We're back. Mad Men and Masculinity, KLDC 1220 AM in the Mile High City and on the interwebs everywhere. Podcast, anywhere you can get a podcast, or YouTube, Facebook. Stop being a chump and hit like or subscribe or something like that, comment or something. I mean, it don't cost you absolutely nothing, and it would absolutely help us. Thank you to our sponsors, man. Thank you to my man Barry Overton, Real Estate Extraordinaire, Castle Rock Men's Health, Pro Auto got something going on this week, as a matter of fact. I was in Castle Rock Men's Health. We're about to have them on pretty soon. I even got my wife into Castle Rock Men's Health, man, to get her hormones right, man. And so, man, I'm telling you, we got some phenomenal sponsors, man. But right now we got Brett Zachman, whatever, Esquire, whatever other Aloysius, whatever other names you want to throw in there, man. Filling in for JBK, who's on the road. He took some time off, and man, we talking about today, what do men need? And man, you threw a cup of gasoline on the fire just a minute ago during the break, man.
So I was writing down things this afternoon, this versus that, and one of the things that came to mind was purpose versus possession.
Man, don't start no won't be none, man. You about to, I'm telling you, man, you about to get me fired up in here, man.
And I think, I'm a guy who's got a Bachelor of Arts in economics, right? So I like numbers. Of course, I like money. Like anybody who don't like money. So let's get that straight, guys. Like the person in your group who says, oh, money's not that important, you need to go have that guy's head checked out. Because until you develop your own country on your own planet, currency is the exchange. And no, it don't make you happy, but it does make the world go round. And Zig Ziglar says it's as important as oxygen.
Yeah, money is the root of all evil. The love of money is the root of all evil.
And so when we say possession, it's not, oh, now they're going to tell me that I don't need to go get skills and I shouldn't work on my vocation. And no, you absolutely should. In Maslow's hierarchy, if you can't get currency, then you got to check yourself. You need to figure out a skill or a trade or a talent or something. But then the flip side of that is, and I even have people around me, we're talking right now, oh, yeah, you're going to lecture me and scold me or, preach to me about I got to go find my passion and I'm not nobody until I get my passion. No, it's not all that. It's if your purpose is, well, I'm going to exchange this currency for a whole bunch of toys and a bunch of materialism, and I'm going to totally drop into this Western capitalistic society, and somehow that's going to make me feel like I've had a fulfilled 50-year adult life in America. I'm telling you, that I haven't seen that work. It hasn't worked for me. I've met some wealthy people. They haven't said that it worked for them either. In fact, they got wealthy not because they were focused on the possession, but because they were focused on the purpose.
Dude, I know woke culture wants to tell y'all that there's no difference between men and women, and men can be women and women can be men and all that kind of stuff. But let me tell you something. On a genetic level, women are women because they have two X chromosomes. I don't care what kind of body part you have or got rid of, two X chromosomes. Men are men because we have an X and a Y chromosome. We have a Y built into our genetic DNA structure. So if you're not living out your why, you're not living out the full measure of just even the genetics that make you who you are. We gotta have a why in life. Why do I want to get out of bed today? Why do I want to do this? Why do I want to do that? Whatever it is, you gotta have a why, or at the end of the day, 30 minutes after your funeral, they're gonna be saying, pass the mashed potatoes.
Well, and I don't know if you guys have ever heard of Darren Hardy. He's one of my virtual mentors. So some of these amazing guys, I've never met him, and I haven't spent the $10,000 to go see him on a weekend. But Darren Hardy's like the former editor-in-chief of Success Magazine, and people fly in from all over the country to listen to this guy. And I heard him do a bit where he said on a morning piece that the average person has 4 people cry at their funeral. And he was like, what the snap? Yeah. I'm going to live 40 years or more in adult life, and I'm going to get 4 people to cry at my funeral. So all of the, the whole hype right now of be seen and be heard and be an influencer and how many likes you got, and that's all external mumbo jumbo. The start to me is, what do you think about you? Joe, Bob, Sam, Frank, how do you feel about you, Frank? Okay, what do you want? I mean, have you ever asked yourself that question? It took until after my divorce. I was 35 years old when I wrote the question, what do I want? And then I'm like, I have no idea. And I had to start, what do I want in a partner, a romantic partner? What do I want to look like as a father? What do I want to do with my career? What would I do? What am I even talented at? And so if you don't, I was playing an external game. So go back to being an athlete. I was losing a game because I didn't understand the rules to the game, because everything for me was external, and I'd never understood that it's an inside first game. Get me right inside, and then all the external can start to fall into play.
Yeah. If we live our entire lives, especially, unless you die very young, if we live our entire lives and nobody else can say that their life is better or benefited from you being alive, then your life was a failure. That's a strong statement to say, but I'm not talking about, you got to have a monument or a holiday named after you, but there should be some man, woman, or child that says either I'm alive because of that person, or that person made a difference in my life, impacted my family, impacted just me, whatever it is, And that could be as simple as volunteering somewhere. I mean, that doesn't have to be anything huge, but if you live an entire life and nobody can say you have, nobody outside of like kids and spouse, but a lot of people, kids and spouse, can't even say that. But if nobody outside of your family can say you made a difference in their life, your life is a failure. And that's a choice. That's a choice. And I'm not saying you're a failure right now. What I'm saying is the summation of your life should not be you lived, you went to some job somewhere, got a paycheck, paid taxes, and died. That's like I mean, the odds of you being born are slim and none, 1 in 400 trillion. So the fact that you're here means you're a statistical impossibility, which means you're not an accident, which means you're on purpose. That's what we're talking about, purpose. And if you're here on purpose, then what's your why? I told you was going to throw gas on that fire, man.
Yeah. One of the last speeches I gave when I was working in finances, financial code, kind of retirement planning to the middle class, the forgotten class when it comes to money. And I was on a stage, biggest stage I've been on, 500 people from all around the country. And the title of my talk was Dare to Dash. And then we're in numbers, finance, right? And I said, look, I got numbers. I got numbers for you. My beginning number is 1971. And then I think my ending number is 2071 because I want to live to 100. And in between those two numbers, there's a dash. And what's the most important thing? That doggone dash. Mm-hmm. What the heck are you doing between the beginning and the ending? And if it's all going back to like possession, what I've heard, people on their deathbed or not, hey, roll in my antique car collection, roll in my bank account. Hey, what's my Bitcoin percent? Yeah, no, they're wishing to God, literally, that there were a few more souls in or around the room with smiles on their faces, kindness in their hearts, empathy, saying, hey, love you, thank you, you ran the race well.
Dude, everything you own everything you have is going to be somebody else's one day. Your house, I just did like a whole new estate plan for me and my wife and kid. I created a trust, put my house in a trust, all that kind of stuff. And it's like when you go through that process, it's like everything you have, including your spouse, probably will be somebody else's one day. Mm-hmm. Your kids could be calling somebody else dad or stepdad or whatever one day. But all of your possessions, all of your stuff, all of the things you work for, you want to get that big fat crib and that big nice house and all that kind of stuff, it's going to be somebody else's one day. The only thing that will never be somebody else's is your legacy. Mm-hmm. I mean, on top of obviously like your DNA, your retina, and your fingerprint, but your legacy. Nobody else in history of man can or will ever have your legacy. So all of that temporary stuff that is possession means absolutely nothing in the face of your purpose.
Yeah, and I think coming back out of my divorce, and that was kind of for me, we've talked a lot about do men have to hit rock bottom before they sort of wake up, so to speak, or take a different approach or shift their paradigm. I don't know. I'm not sure about that. The goal of B-Men is to catch you before you hit rock bottom. But a lot of myself and a lot of men I know have hit their version of rock bottom or something therein. But, at the end of the day, it's like asking yourself, okay, why? What am I here for? And that doesn't, it's okay. You don't know that at 20. You don't know that at 30. You don't know that at 40. Be the best you in the moment of whatever you're doing. You're the janitor. You're the music teacher. You're the volunteer at the food line. A smile on your face. You don't know. You don't know. A smile from you walking down a sidewalk to a complete stranger. You don't know if that was the morning that they got divorced from their spouse and they're thinking about walking out in front of a bus. But your smile made them think, well, there's one kind human on the planet that treated me nice. I don't know them. Maybe I can go one more day.
And something as simple as that, man. Something as simple as that can make a difference. But we gotta, and we don't know when our last day is. So we gotta make a difference, as soon as possible, if not today. And unfortunately, there's a lot of men like you and me that have gone through divorce. And if there is a time in your life when you realize that the stuff you have ain't always going to be your stuff. when you want to do a summation of your life and you realize that what you had yesterday you don't have today, that is one of those processes that will bring all those things come in. I mean, again, a job. I mean, a lot of people have been laid. I've been laid off from jobs before. You go in the morning like any other morning. Next thing you know, you got a meeting and you got an envelope, and then boom, they take your badge and you walk right out the door, and all of a sudden, that's gone. And so, I'm telling you, man, that purpose versus possession is huge, man.
Well, and I think of when you were just making those couple of examples, I think of attachment versus detachment.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we're not talking well, I thought you just said don't be the lone survivor, don't be the lone. We're not talking detachment to that level where I'm attached to nothing and nobody, because that ain't healthy, right? That's sociopath, psychopath type stuff. But the idea that, okay, let's go back to possessions. If you're super attached to money, right? So men, does this resonate? Well, I am as fat as my wallet. Because we always ask ourselves, right, in our adulting years, hey, what do you do? And then we're thinking, are you good at that? And what's our measuring tool? Well, our measuring tool is how much currency do you get paid for whatever you do. Well, if that is your identity, like, guys, you're effed. Because sooner or later, that pink slip is coming. And it's not your fault, right? The company outsourced or offshored or merged or whatever, or went bankrupt, or, one of the C-level people embezzled some stuff. Or you tried the entrepreneurial venture. I've done that. And maybe you had some bad business partners and you went through a business divorce. So sooner or later, you might wind up with nothing. And if everything was about money, now what? Right. Now you're down to square zero, slash and burn, crash and burn. And you got to go back to that question of, who am I? What do I stand for? Why am I here?
Tell you what, we're gonna stand for a break right now, and then we're gonna come back and hit this. Hey, on this last segment, why don't we maybe share what ladies what men need today? How about we share with some ladies to the ladies? We got a lot of ladies that listen. Matter of fact, some of our more faithful ladies or faithful listeners are women. How about we share to the ladies some things that men need? What do you think?
I love it.
Boom, we'll be right back. Mad Men and Masculinity on KLDC. Bomb diggity. That was good stuff,
brother.
Man, I got some a couple comments that I had to block. Matter of fact, yeah, I took a picture of it and sent it to Jason, and he told me to block. I mean, come on, man. It's just idiots, and then probably some spam or somebody in a dark basement somewhere in Bangladesh or something like that.
Well, and that's the thing, it's like,
dummies.
Why do we have used car salesmen?
Yeah. Well, you're doing something good when you got idiot. I mean, and it's when I'll show you. Yeah, it's like, come on, man. Yeah, it's like, come on,
scratchers.
It literally is just somebody trying to be stupid and somebody trying to be funny. Because boys can't hang with men, and we having man conversation right now.
Yeah.
But anyhow, all right, let's close this thing out.
All right.
We're back. You boys are back. We are back. Mad Men and Masculinity, KLDC, and on the interwebs, everywhere. My man Zach's in the house, man. We coming down the home stretch, and we're talking about today the things that men need, and man, it's like we said we were just gonna wing it. We only got like 2 or 3 things deep here in terms of stuff. But I figured on this last segment, first of all, before we even get into this last segment, you got something going on here in a couple of weeks, man. You doing something for, speaking of purpose and doing something for other people. What kind of things you got going on for other people?
Yeah, that's a good question. So not only do we have this continuity event, but we look for ways to give back. The whole giving is better than receiving. Yeah, it sounds nice. It actually works, guys. Try it. Just, give it a shot and see what you think. So we've got something coming up Saturday, March 23rd, Ned Kelly's Irish Pub in downtown Littleton. Look that up, 2 to 4 o'clock. We're going to be there. We do this once a year in March. It's not March Madness. It's madness about supporting childhood cancer research. So for me, this one's personal. My next door neighbor, Jeff, died at the age of 12 from child leukemia when I was 11. You go attend your buddies, like your childhood buddies' funeral with all the other guy buddies from the neighborhood, that changes your life forever. And then 20 years later, 10 years ago, I'm coaching my son's little league basketball team, and little Jacob, smallest guy in the team, goes in for a flu checkup. No, he does not have flu. So invited all the guys to go down to St. Baldrick's, shave our heads, made the whole season about him. Jacob's still with us. So come out, go to stbaldricks.org/teams/Beeman 2024. Donate if you can. Go to beeman.org, and on our events page, it'll tell you, where we're going to be, how we're going to be. But come out, have a green beer, meet some cool people. If you don't want to go bald, don't worry about it. Watch me shave my head, laugh your what off, and it's a good cause with good people.
No, see, I mean, again, making a difference, man. And even through something like that, something what seems as simple as raising money to shave your head will impact somebody else's life, and you probably won't even know whose life that impacted, man. And that's one of the things you'll find out on the other side, all the lives you've impacted by doing that kind of stuff, man. So that's a prime example of everything we just got finished talking about. So if we flip to speaking for men, meaning speaking to women, what's something off the top of your head you think women should know that men need?
Oh, I got a rich one. I got a deep one. I got a juicy one.
Bring it.
So a couple times I've done this event called Dating, Mating, and Relating, right? And split men and women apart and ask the women to go off and write down the top 5 things you think men want in romantic partnership, and vice versa. Now, of course, you know what's going to come up. Sex. Mm-hmm. In fact, it's the top of the list. But consistently, what I have seen and what I've heard working with you and others, right, for the last 10 and 15 years, no. And what I wrote down was affection and love versus infatuation and sex.
Wow, that's dope, man. I mean, that's deep, man. I mean, man, affection and I think, a lot of times people can, I'll generalize and say a lot of women can assume that men just want sex. We are definitely sexually wired, and that's biologically speaking. I mean, that's Ray Charles can see that. But deeper than that, we have some emotional needs that we absolutely need from the women in our life. And if you can meet those emotional needs, then, men are loyal. I mean, I don't care. I mean, yes, men cheat, but men are loyal. How many men have gone to the same barber for years? How many men have loved the same sorry sports team for years? I mean, when you get to that deeper level of connection with a man, men generally speaking are loyal. And you're absolutely right. I think men need respect from women.
Yes.
That song, that Aretha Franklin song was written by Otis Redding, or for Otis Redding. I mean, she just happened to come out, RESPCT. That was a song written for a man to sing. She just happened to take it and run with it. But men need respect.
Yeah, we want that respect. And so, ladies, here's a little dime for you that I spoke from a stage a while ago. So ESP and ESPN are not the same thing. and we wish, and don't take my word for it. Look up really intelligent people like Alison Armstrong. She's a female writer writing about men stuff and saying, look, we're trying to turn men into hairy women. That doesn't work. When you're like, well, the communication would be so much better if he just thought like me. No, because then there'd be no polarity, there'd be no masculine energy to balance out the feminine energy, and then you'd be on this show complaining to Kirk about, well, he's just a beta guy, and I got to do everything, and I'm tired of bringing home the bacon and frying it up in the pan. It's like, well, yeah. So, men, I heard a guy at a group thing say, at the age of 50, he said, look, if I want sex, I know where to get it, and I know how much it costs, and it's not that hard to find. What I want is affection, I want companionship, I want love, and to use your word, I want respect. And that's called a safe container. That's a safe, sanctuary. If a guy's going to go out there and mix it up and feel like he's fighting with the world to build a vocation or a career, to make more money, to be a provider, by the way, I agree with that from back a section ago when you said that. Men are producers. So don't take that away from him. Men need to feel needed, ladies. So if you're trying to do everything, that's not going to fly well. So if you can respect us, if you can help create a safe space. Now, I'm not saying, oh, so this is the part where you tell me I'm with an abuser and then I just got to create a safe space. No, a safe space is collaborative, communicative, and together. If he's dangerous, leave.
We talk a lot about emotional abuse from men towards women. Emasculating a man is emotional abuse. And a man that will stay with you in the midst of continual emasculation is a man that is emotionally abused, and he's afraid to leave his abuser because somehow he's dependent on his abuser. The same way it can happen in reverse from women to men. And so if you have a good man, it should be your duty to show him respect. We do have things that we need beneath the surface. In my vows, I promised my wife to be her priest, her provider, and her protector. That does not mean I don't need anything from my wife, and that does not mean that there are not days where I'm vulnerable, where I'm sensitive, where I'm having a struggle, and there are absolute things that I need from her. There are help that I need from her. And so, but if you have a good man, it is incumbent upon you to show him outwardly, even to say it, but to show him and make sure he knows that you respect him as a man.
You know what? I just thought of one other thing.
What?
This might play in well about the whole masculine, feminine energy. I've seen this for like the last decade or so.
Bring it.
Ladies, we need your softness.
Ooh.
Can I just share this with you?
Ooh.
I get the boss babe thing. I get it.
Oh, that's
And
really...
we're training you to be more masculine. So I get that. But so I'm asking you, just like we're asking men to do the counterintuitive thing, I would ask you to do the counterintuitive thing in 2024. Because you're starting to be taught that having a womb, being a child bringer, being a mother, being a caretaker, being tender, being kind, being soft, being loving, being forgiving, like all of that is weakness. No,
exactly.
That is feminine strength at its core. And guess where men can't get that anywhere else on the planet but save you. We can have all men's meetings we want, and we're not getting that. We're getting guy time, we're getting empathy, we're getting support, we're getting rah-rah, we're getting accountability, we're getting tribe, we're getting all the stuff that Kirk and I have been talking about. But to come to you, to dissolve into your softness, to your sweetness, to your kindness, God, we need that.
Man, I'm telling you, man, dude, you killing me, dude. You straight up killing me, dog. You killing me, Smalls. You killing me, Smalls. Because we do need, that has become so taboo now to find a soft, gentle, feminine woman. I mean, and don't bring up the word submission. I mean, first of all, I think submission is a beautiful thing. And I think mutual submission in the context of a relationship is the quan. That's what we're trying to get to. It can look different, but don't even bring up stuff like that. But just the idea of a soft, gentle, like a soft place to land at the end of the day. I mean, that's what the world is. The world is feminine, right? I mean, but almost just like the world, it's like we're destroying it and making it unusable, not life producing, all these other kind of things. And man, just the hardness, that boss babe, I got it all, this and that. And I know a lot of you have been hurt by men and all that kind of stuff. But if you've been hurt by a man in your past, and you can't get over it to be able to appreciate and be soft to a man in your present, then you should not have a man in your future.
Well, and then, it takes two to tango, right? And so one of the whole ideas, why does B-Men invite women into some window dressing to create some transparency so that you could vouch for what the hell we're doing? Mm-hmm. We get it. Yeah. We understand.
But that is not an excuse for a woman to not be soft. Because, see, and here's where we get, man, see, you get me all wound up now. We about to get out of here, too. Because we don't give men an excuse to be damaged. We don't give a man an excuse to live in his mom's basement forever. We don't give a man an excuse to be abusive towards women or to treat women bad or to, if a man is soft, we don't give him an excuse. We call him a softie, a beta man, a nice guy, all these other kind of things. But a lot of times we can give women an excuse to be hard. We can give women an excuse to be continually and progressively damaged and all these other kind of things. And so we can't just walk away from the idea that it is not his excuse or it's not his fault that you have that in your past. You have to find a way to bring that softness into the home. If you don't bring it, it doesn't exist.
Yeah, if you're a traumatized human, no matter your gender, guess whose responsibility that is to heal? Mm-hmm. Yours.
Yours.
And yours alone. Mm-hmm. And so with men, We're not going to hold our sons who are 10 and 15 and 18 to a higher standard than we're going to hold a man who's 30, 50, 60. And likewise, women, same with you. I get it. Have you been injured? I am sure. Have you been mistreated? For sure. And can you grow past that, let that go? Because I promise you, there are healthy men out there. Now, are they standing on every street corner? I don't know. Probably not. I don't date guys. Not that there's anything wrong with that. But a healthy man, think of all the songs and all the poetry and all the art and all the political wars have been fought for women. Healthy men will do almost anything. Which guys, warning, Will Robinson.
Yeah. Most of the stuff we do has like a feminine bent to it. You won't find a movie with a male, like a male in the alpha character where there's not a woman involved. Yeah. Show me a Marvel movie of a male superhero that doesn't have a woman as part of his background thing. And so, man, I'm telling you that we need that so much, man. Oh, especially these days, we need that so bad, man.
Because the world is harsh.
Yeah.
The world is hard. If there's no place for a soft landing. So I see a lot of guys, maybe their mom, who was the first female that would have taught them what soft feminine energy looks like, couldn't do it. Mm-hmm. That guy struggles.
Yeah. A lot of us have been hurt by men. A lot of us have male wounds. A lot of us have father wounds. Again, we don't get the excuse of carrying that forward. So it's up to us to heal. It's up to all of us to heal to be who we need to be in the context of a relationship. But specifically, 1 gazillion, quadrillion % do men need that softness. Men need that femininity. You are beautiful, and if you don't radiate, we don't even get to feel that heat. And so we need that specifically. Zach, man, I appreciate you, man. I love you, brother. Thanks for filling in, man. This has been good stuff, man. This ain't your first time, and I guarantee it won't be the last time I've been in this joint, man. bmen.org. The St. Baldrick's is when, the 23rd of March?
Saturday the 23rd.
At where?
That's at Ned Kelly's.
Nice. If you live in the Colorado area, especially in the southern part of the Colorado, or the Denver area rather, stop by, check it out, raise some money, go to the website, come see Zach get his head shaved. And it'll be a good time. So, man, we love every single one of y'all. We have these conversations for you. This is stuff, again, Zach and I would sit around and talk about even if we weren't on the air. And so we do all these conversations so we can stimulate conversation. Let us know if you like, hate, if you agree, disagree, whatever you think. Put it in the comments, and promise you we'll reply back. And with that, we'll leave y'all. JBK, hurry back, although Zach is crushing it, man. You better, if you don't get back, you're going to lose your job, JBK. I'm just letting you know, if you don't get back, you about to be, out on the curb, man. So until then, we will see y'all later, and the Madmen are out.